the second live ever... Frick, I keep doing that. Welcome to the second ever live episode of the Captain Fizz Mask Guy podcast. I am really out of it right now.
You really need to get your crap together, you know that?
The timer's off. So, I'm Captain Fizz.
And I, of course, am that Mask Guy. How y'all doing?
Yeah, if you're listening to us right now, and I know there's a lot of you who will be, welcome. Thank you. There's a chat button, comment, blah, 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 blah. We will respond. And yeah, awesome.
Awesome sauce! I'm sorry, I'll never say that again.
Oh, please never say that again. No awesome sauce ever allowed. So, our main topic today is going to be the complete... probably ripping apart of Fantastic Four.
And see, we already know going into this that you are going to go off and butcher it a little bit, and I'm going to try half-heartedly to defend this movie because I don't completely disagree with you.
It doesn't pay to disagree with me.
Well, no, it's just that, I really want to agree with you, but I can't completely agree with you.
Because I'm an ass and you're not.
Well, no, it's not just that. It's, honestly, going into this movie, I seriously wanted to hate it. After seeing both of the trailers for this movie, I thought, okay, this is going to absolutely blow. And then I started reading the reviews, and I thought, oh my god, this is going to absolutely blow. And then I went off and saw it, and realized it didn't absolutely blow.
No, you are right. It didn't, absolutely blow my mind. Play with words. No, I don't understand the ideology of what that movie was. That was not the Fantastic Four. Not in any reality was that the Fantastic Four.
Well, here's the thing. Going into this movie, and from everything I read before they even started filming, they were going for a more action-based movie where they were going to actually talk about, people, I've always assumed that, hey, it'd be cool to have superpowers, but what if you woke up and realized you had superpowers? Your mind would probably freak out just a little bit, and I think that's where they were going with it. And honestly, I thought that the first act of the movie wasn't completely offensive to my senses. It was what they did in let's face it, there really wasn't a second act. It almost felt like they literally went from the first act right to the third act, because there's really no second act to really speak of.
No.
And the third act, it's, while there was a couple of spots that were good, there was nothing absolutely great about it.
No, all it was, the best way to describe this is a very drawn-out, poorly scripted information scene that really had nothing to do to explain the Fantastic Four. There was no chemistry between the actors that you could... Now, that could be the actors not working well together because of all the drama, on set.
That's
or
just it.
The script.
Well, that's just it. I mean, these guys weren't really allowed to even build a lot of chemistry between them. You kind of go into this and you think, okay, there's going to be a love story here between Reed Richards and Sue Storm. And you kind of see a couple of hints at it, but there's nothing there. There's obviously an estranged relationship between Sue Storm and her brother Johnny Storm. And you see that, they love each other, but they don't really like being around one another, particularly, Johnny, who seems to be jealous of Sue because, Sue seemed to have gained some more attention from her father than he did.
Adopted father,
which makes it even kind of feel a little bit worse, I suppose.
Yeah, so when you look at that, the fact that Sue Storm is adopted into the family,
which I didn't have any problem with.
I don't have an issue with that, but the storyline and the chemistry just did not coincide with that.
The only thing I kind of, I felt the only quote-unquote real chemistry in all of this was probably between Miles Teller and Jamie Bell, who played Reed Richards and Ben Grimm, respectively. And you can actually see almost a
bromance.
There was, well, absolutely. Well, that's just it. I mean, it's always been a part of the theology, if you will, of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, there was more romance between those two than between Sue Storm and Reed.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe, that wasn't the story they were going for. They were going for how this group came together. Now, here's the thing. Again, I'm going to state this straight out. I did not hate this movie, but I did not like this movie.
And I will say right now, our opinions differ.
And, I am still fuming over the fact that, this is the oldest Marvel property. This is, I believe, the first thing that, Stan Lee and, went off and helped to create. And this is now the fourth freaking movie that they've went off and done. And it is by far the worst I have seen.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's worse than the very first Fantastic Four movie, and I've never even seen it because that movie got buried so deep you can find the E.T. Atari games next to it.
Hey, don't diss Atari.
I'm not dissing Atari, I'm dissing E.T. Atari game.
Oh, carry on. That was a debacle. No, it wasn't bad movie if you don't ever read the comic books. If you, of course, are one of those smart people who read the comic books, then you are absolutely going to despise this movie. This movie is a mockery to everything that Fantastic Four stands for. It's a mockery that everything that Fantastic Four should stand for. What upset me the most, other than the very slow-moving lack of storyline, was the premature fight.
The premature fight? Do you think there was a premature fight in this one?
It didn't last long enough to be called a real fight. This fight lasted less than a Ronda Rousey fight. Which I believe her last fight lasted 34 seconds.
Yeah, about that. I think it was actually clocked in at like 36 seconds or something like that.
So this fight lasted less than that. It was the worst build-up. Like, they built up to this fight, and it was over quicker than a virgin with a hooker.
Okay, but I looked at it. This fight sequence, though, was actually, I believe, like twice as long as the last, not the last Fantastic Four movie, but the first one featuring Jessica Alba. I believe that fight sequence was literally half as long as this one. So this one actually lasted much longer.
Yeah, but it really wasn't a battle scene, technically.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was pretty good, compared to some, battle scenes we've seen in movies. But, again, though, I mean, there's nothing. It could have been a spectacular fight scene, and, it wouldn't have made up for the terrible narrative that was in this movie.
No, the script was awful. And I'm not going to fault the actors.
No, the actors
not in the least. Like, don't get me wrong, I didn't like the movie, but the actors did show some promise. I do not believe that this was the right fit for them. It just they didn't seem to fit the characters properly. Now, that, of course, could be a script problem, that could be a director problem, obviously a director problem, or that could be a Fox problem.
And, I think it's all the above. Now, for those people who aren't aware, after the bad reviews started coming out...
and before...
before the movie, yes, leading up to the movie opening here on Friday, Josh Trank, who is the director and who actually helped to write the script for the movie, went on Twitter and actually stated that it was upsetting to him that the fans weren't going to be able to see the vision of the movie he wanted to do a year ago. Soon after that, he actually deleted it. However, people took pictures of that tweet and have been constantly retweeting it. If you go to the FizMash Show's Twitter account, @FizMash Show, you will actually and you scroll through it, you will find that tweet because we made sure to retweet that. But Joe, and over the weekend, I've just been doing a lot of research. And, just reading a lot of stuff that Entertainment Weekly themselves have been going off and investigating. And it's interesting because you could really see it was a real mess up here. What first started to sound like that Fox just came in, stomped all over Josh Trank's toes, and took over the filming. At one point, they allegedly locked him out of the editing room and went off and made some edits of their own. But then when you go further back into the story, you find out that Josh Trank apparently was having hissy fits on the set and was just attacking everyone on. So it looked like Fox was in the right. And then you find out that, almost from day one, Josh Trank was having issues with the studio, so you can kind of understand why he was starting to get super frustrated. And so, but here's the thing. This cast is all the actors that Josh Trank wanted. So regardless of who's at fault for the narrative, for the writing, for everything else, he's responsible for these 5 actors. Miles Teller, Kate Mara, Michael B. Jordan, Jamie Bell, and Toby Kebbell, who played Victor Von Doom. He's responsible for the complete casting of this movie, regardless of everything else. And I have heard that, there was action sequences that were completely cut out of the movie, and probably completely cut out of the script. So a lot of things that would have made this movie much better were gone. Now, whether that was because of Trank or whether that's because of 20th Century Fox, I'm not sure. But honestly, this is not the movie that it could have been, it should have been.
No.
And I will state it again, I am so frustrated. See, this is the oldest property that Jack Kirby and Stan Lee have ever created, and Hollywood has still not come up with a great movie for this freaking franchise.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. I honestly don't know how long the movie lasted for. I believe there was parts I actually may have fallen asleep during.
I envy you.
I put my hat over my head and I pretty much hung my head. I'm a huge comic book fan. I've pretty much been raised with them. I idolize comic books. What happened with that movie is no just one person's fault. Fox has a huge blame in that, and Fox needs to learn that they cannot do Marvel's movies justice. So Fox needs to turn around and, you know what? I don't even care if you sell them back, give them back. I don't care what you do. Marvel needs to get Fantastic Four back because Marvel's the only hope to make Fantastic Four respectable again. Look what Marvel has done with Ant-Man.
Which, honestly, if you told me 5 years ago that they were going to go off and make a movie just about Ant-Man, I would have laughed at you.
Yeah, Marvel has done great justice for Ant-Man. Marvel will do great justice for Fantastic Four. The justice that needs to be done. But anyways, I almost walked out. If it wasn't for, other reasons behind it, this would be the first movie that I would have walked out of. Superhero related at least, which is really disturbing. I found as I've said, the chemistry was off. None of the actresses looked like they really wanted to be there together. They knew how to act together. Maybe on their own, they're wonderful actors. But together, it made no sense of how any of them deserved to be on that film. And that's not take away their acting ability. It's just, obviously something went wrong from the start of the movie, from when they were, cast as these characters, to when the movie came out, or finished, directing, whatever you want to call it. That it just, something was missing, something didn't make sense, and there was too much storyline, not enough action.
Again, if what I've heard is correct, there were, action sequences that were completely cut out of this. And honestly, if half of what I've heard about, Josh Trank's behavior on the set is, true, then I can understand why these actors, may not have been at their best. Because it's kind of hard to go off and to give, great performances when the person who's supposed to be in charge is acting like a complete
Yeah.
prick.